Welcome. We'll be starting in about 6 minutes. We're starting in 3 minutes. We'll be starting in just a minute. Go ahead, please.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Today's speaker is Purcell, the author of 2 books on transcendental meditation, which is TM for short. One is The TM Technique and the Journey of Enlightenment, and the second is The Power of Transcendence, Growing in Love, Creativity, Health, and Happiness. Anne is also a longtime leader in the women's wing of the International Transcendental Meditation Organization. And she'll be speaking to us today on the very important topic of women rising in world consciousness and where women ultimately get their power. So Anne, please go ahead and share with us. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Okay. Can you see me? There you are. Good. So welcome everyone to our talk on women rising in world consciousness. But before I start my presentation today, I just wanted to address the situation that we're all experiencing in our country now. I think we're all really deeply moved by the loss of George Floyd and the passionate response to the systemic racism in our country that pervades our society, really. And as women, we play a critical role in the healing and restoration of the nation. As women, we have an amazing inner power that is undeniable and that can change the destiny of mankind. And today I'll be highlighting many of the achievements of women in different areas of society. And then I'll come back to the issue of racism and suggest how we as women can have a profound effect on national consciousness from the most profound level of ourselves. And at the end of the presentation, I'll take your questions and answers. And ultimately, women have within them, as our very nature, the power to nourish, the power to protect, and the power to restore. So let's look at this from different cultures. I'm going to share my screen now, and so just give me a second. All right. For millions of years, women and the powers they have embodied have been adored, honored, and even deified. From the ancient Vedic wisdom, we have 3 main goddesses: Maha Lakshmi, symbolic of abundance and nourishment; Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, wisdom, music, art, and learning; and Maha Durga, the goddess representing the power of good to triumph over evil. In the Christian tradition, we have Mother Mary, who is the symbol of purity, nourishment, and the connector of the divine on the earth. The ancient Greek tradition is filled with many goddesses. 2 of my favorite are Artemis and Athena. Artemis is considered female divinity. Like Maha Durga, she is often pictured armed like her brother Apollo, with a bow, quiver, and arrows. She is the protector of young girls and was worshipped as one of the primary goddesses of childbirth and midwifery. Athena is the goddess of wisdom, courage, inspiration, civilization, law and justice, strategic warfare, mathematics, strength, strategy, the arts, crafts, and skill. In the Roman tradition, Venus, I'm sure many of you know, is the goddess of love, beauty, and prosperity. She's equivalent to Aphrodite in the Greek tradition. If we look at the diverse civilizations throughout history, we will find a direct correlation between the amount of respect and honor women have been given and the greatness of that civilization. Barack Obama recently said at a conference in Indonesia, "It turns out that the best indicators of whether a country is developed or not is how does it educate its girls and how does it treat its women. And typically those countries that do a bad job on that are backwards and behind economically." There's a quote in Manusmriti, chapter 3, verse 56, from the Vedic literature that says, "The divine are extremely happy when women are respected. When they are not, all actions are fruitless." We're all aware in the many cultures around the world today, women's rights have been suppressed to one degree or another. In the last several years, we have been seeing a tremendous rise in respect and support for women. We have also witnessed many women taking powerful stands for their own equal rights, as well as for the rights of their country and for our Mother Earth. These changes seem to have been inspired in particular when women have gathered together. Following are some samples in recent years in business. Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook started Lean in Circles with a purpose to create a world when people of every gender can pursue their dreams without bias or other barriers holding them back, where girls grow up to be confident, resilient leaders, where more women run companies and countries. There are now more than 44,000 Lean in Circles in over 170 countries. A new company called Elvest is run by women catering towards women's investment needs, which are different than men's. Another company called Chiefs is a private network focused on connecting and supporting women's leaders. There's a new female company called The Wing, which offers co-working space for women. Founded in 2016, The Wing is a growing community of women across the country and globe, gathering together to work, connect, and thrive. On the homepage of their website it says, "When women gather, we go further, faster together." In the music industry, 15-time Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter Alicia Keys helped start with top women in the industry a nonprofit called She is the Music, whose mission is to increase the number of women working in music, songwriters, engineers, producers, artists, and industry professionals. She is the Music operates as a unifying organization from women across the music industry. And as you can see on this chart, there's quite a lot of really top famous musicians, songwriters, Alanis Morissette, Cyndi Lauper, Maren Morris, there's many more. And this is just Andra Day. This is just one shot. There's a lot more pages with other women from different countries. In the field of government, in 2018, 19 African American women running for judge, every one of them won their seat in Houston, Texas, in the US, marking the single biggest victory for Black women in the country's history. Women also broke records during the 2018 midterm elections, winning more seats in Congress in the US than ever before. 10 women candidates won in the Senate, joining 10 already in the upper chamber, for a total of 112 women, the most women to serve in Congress at once in history. Following the massive genocide in Rwanda in 1994, the Rwandan government passed a law that was written into the new constitution that 30% of the seats had to be women. In 2003, women won 48.8% of the seats in the lower house of parliament, far surpassing the newly mandated 30%. In 2008, women's representation rose to 56%, and today it's 64%. Recently, Finland voted in its first female-led government. All the 5 heads of the coalition government are led by women, and Sanna Marin, at 34, is the youngest prime minister in the world. In education, the 1991-82 academic school year was the first time that women received more bachelor's degrees than men in the US. Since then, women have consistently outpaced men earning that same level of education, receiving 57% of the bachelor's degrees awarded by US institutions in the 2016-2000 academic year, according to the National Center for Education Statistics. Since 2000, the college enrollment rate for female students has outnumbered males. In recent years, women have also changed the face of sports. As of the 2019 World Championships, Simone Biles is the gymnast with the most world medals and most world gold medals of any gender, as well as the female gymnast with the most world all-around titles. In 2019, she was also TM USA Female Olympic Athlete of the Year. Serena Williams is considered not just the greatest tennis player of all times, but is widely held to be the greatest athlete of all times. In 2015, the Women's World Cup final between the US and Japan was the most watched soccer match, men's or women's, in American broadcast history. In 2019, they won their 4th title, and the Women's World Cup final drew higher US ratings than the men's final. And the 2 young women who have impressed me the most is Malala Yousafzai, who was named the Girls' Hero in 2013, and who is the youngest person and woman to receive the Nobel Prize in 2014. Malala has met with many heads of state advocating education for young girls around the world. She believes really strongly that educating girls is most important to creating a more peaceful and prosperous world. My other young hero is Greta Thunberg, who at only 15 years old has made her voice heard around the world and has spoken to the US House of Representatives, the United Nations, and has met with leaders and spoken to heads of state on the urgent need to take action on global warming. A Lakota medicine man called her "woman who came from the heavens." And Greta was also chosen as Times Person of the Year in 2019. In 2019, National Geographic magazine published their November issue with a cover entitled "Woman, Century of Change." In the letter from the editor, a woman, she said, "The first issue in 1988 did not have one single woman in it. In this issue, all the contributing writers, artists, and scientists are women. Each article explores how women are rising in societies around the world and features the many women heroes of our time. One of the first articles in the magazine is titled, "Why the Future Should Be Female." As most of you must be aware, the news carries stories daily about amazing triumphs of women who are rising to successfully meet the needs and challenges of the time. Starting about 3 months ago, the biggest challenge of our time is the coronavirus. A recent article in the Wall Street Journal was titled, "What do countries with the best coronavirus response have in common? Women leaders." The countries with these women leaders are Taiwan, New Zealand, Iceland, Germany, Finland, Norway, and Denmark. The article stated that most women acted quickly and decisively to stop the spread of the virus, and they also acted in a loving, caring way. Quote, "Generally, the empathy and care which all of these female leaders have communicated seems to come from an alternate universe than the one we have gotten used to. It's like their arms are coming out of their videos to hold you close in a heartfelt and loving embrace. Who knew leaders could sound like this? Now we do." It is inspiring to hear about how the power of women's voices and talents are blossoming in the world consciousness, and we congratulate them all. Melinda Gates said in a recent popular podcast, "I know when you lift up women, they invest in everybody else and they lift up society." Let's take a moment to reflect on from where all this rebalancing is coming, as well as the nature of a woman's true power and from where it arises. As I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, women have the unique innate maternal ability to nourish, to communicate and empathize, to encourage and uplift. Abilities that are inherent in all women, whether they have children or not. These natural capabilities, if respected, spread out and spill over into the workplace, into all fields of endeavor, and into all our social institutions, providing an underlying support for everyone. A New York Times article in this regard recently came out with an article titled, "Enough Leaning In, Let's Tell Men to Lean Out." The main point of the article is that the present day assumption of feminism is, in order to be powerful as women, we should become like men, more assertive, apologize less, don't worry as much. The author of this article recognized the inaccuracy of this assumption, even though this idea is being sold to us as progressive. She proposes that instead of women trying to be like men, maybe men should be like women. An article in the Harvard Review echoes this same thought. The title of that article was "7 Leadership Lessons Men Can Learn from Women." Perhaps we can reframe this idea to suggest that our power as women does not come from trying to be like men, nor should we ask men to be like women. Everyone should simply be themselves. Men certainly have their unique, wonderful qualities, but today we are highlighting the qualities that are predominant in women. In the National Geographic issue on women that I just referred to, top leaders were asked what advice would they give to a young woman today. Melinda Gates said, "Fitting in is overrated. I spent my first years at my first job out of college doing everything I could to make myself more like the people around me, which were almost men. It didn't bring out the best in me, and it did not position me to bring out the best in others. The best advice I have to offer is seek out people and environments that empower you to be nothing but yourself. As women, our greatest accomplishment has been and will always be our ability to most fully reflect the more tender, more refined impulses of our own nature, and to infuse those values into the world around us, including being more harmonious and collaborative. The latest issue of a luxury magazine called V was their first issue solely dedicated to women. Here's the cover with Tina Brown, who started Women of the World, an annual forum that brings together women leaders, activists, and political voices from around the world to share their stories and offer solutions for building a better life for women and girls. The letter from the editor was entitled, "Women Are Divine, the Beauty of Being Female." Settling into our inner stillness, we rediscover our essential feminine and divine nature that resides in the subtlest levels of feeling, from where we most profoundly impact our world. As women, we merely need to align ourselves with our nourishing power within, the field of pure consciousness, pure being. Many of you on this call are practitioners of transcendental meditation. Some of you may practice other meditations, and some of you may not meditate. I personally have been practicing TM for over 45 years. The technique of transcendental meditation is completely natural and effortless, which is why I like it. And it allows us to settle down to the state of silence within, the deepest level of who we are. This field of silence contains all the qualities of love, kindness, wisdom, and nourishing power, as reflected in the goddesses and women of the ancient Vedic, Greek, and Christian cultures. This inner silence will appear in activity as more wisdom, strength, creativity, stability, and calm, and at the same time, more energy and vitality. After we transcend during our TM practice, we draw upon all these qualities in our lives, which then nourish and uplift our environment in an easy, natural way. During the Me Too March in Washington, D.C., the day after the presidential inauguration in 2016, Gloria Steinem said, "God is in the details, but the goddess is in the connections." What does connection mean? It means unity, love, working together. United we stand, divided we fall. Strength lies in unity, unity in diversity. The deepest level of connection is the experience of our pure consciousness, which is connected to everyone and everything at the source of the universe. There are many different forces that guide nations: political forces, economic forces, social and cultural forces, climate forces, and now the force of the global pandemic. And of course, what we're experiencing now, a cultural force with what is going on with all the riots and everything, which I'm going to talk about more in a minute. But there's also the unseen force of silence. Silence is an infinitely orderly, ubiquitous, nourishing power, but because silence is unmanifest, it is typically underrated or not appreciated at all. When we come together in groups of women and meditate together, we are awakening this greatest and most essential power on earth, which will help to uplift and bring coherence and more wisdom to all the other forces in the world. But I want to make very, very clear, this type of silence does not mean we should not speak out. It means the experience of the state of least excitation within, a place of pure calm and peace. The recent death of George Floyd has resulted in protests around the world, actually. It has also led to heartfelt conversations on how to solve the systemic problem of racism. Of course, we need to change our educational, health, economic, and justice systems to bring about equality. My purpose today is not to discuss the many things that can be done on the level of activism, but to address the simple question, how do you change a person's heart? Consciously or unconsciously, we have all been conditioned to judge and stereotype people throughout our upbringing, from family, friends, religion, culture, and the media. We can intellectually examine ourselves to see if we have any prejudices, which we should certainly do. But when we dive into that transcendent through our TM practice, the moment we transcend, that moment we experience a state that is beyond any conditioning. It's the purest level of our consciousness. It's a state of expanded, unbounded awareness. When we come out of meditation, our awareness is more expanded. People comment on that all the time, that's what they experience, and that they see a bigger horizon. We see the world with a much larger view. The narrow thinking or wiring of our brain begins to dissolve. Love, compassion, and empathy begin to grow. After the really sad death of Trayvon Martin, his beautiful mother, Sabrina Fulton, started an organization called A Circle of Mothers to help mothers who lost a child to violence, but to also help women, but also to help empower women, to help empower mothers to solve the problem of violence. No mother on earth would want to see their child die, especially in a violent, unnecessary act. Interesting, we started TM Women's Circles a few years ago to also help empower women to become a huge evolutionary force for raising world consciousness by activating the softest nourishing power, which will naturally dissolve the deep stresses and imbalances in life. All of us present today all want to help the world in all possible ways. And for sure, the world needs more than ever the soft, calming influence of women. And the most fundamental is self-help, which means enlivening the deepest level of the universe that connects us all and letting the job be done by the evolutionary force of life itself. When we transcend and experience that pure silence, that moment we will experience oneness with everyone else in creation, because everyone has that pure silence within. Everyone has that divine within. And we would never want to hurt the divine in anybody else. We need to help the world on every level, from the outer levels of activism to improving society through education, the arts, social work, the medical field. But we can also help the world by diving into the state of calm and spread that peace into the environment. I'd like to end with a photo of the largest regular gathering of 500 girls in the world who meditate together every day at the Dhammajarinee Witthaya school in Thailand. These young girls, growing in the highest values of lives themselves through their transcendental meditation practice, are creating a permanent platform for peace, affluence, and harmony throughout all of Southeast Asia. It's a Buddhist girls' school. The lady in front is a Buddhist nun who actually became a teacher of transcendental meditation. She teaches Buddhism, the knowledge and wisdom of Buddhism in the educational curriculum, but she liked the technique of transcendental meditation the best because it's most effortless and natural, and because of all the scientific research behind it. And all the girls in the school are girls who are off the street. She rescued girls from prostitution and girls who didn't have parents or couldn't afford an education. She fundraised and has 500 girls, and her work, she's done remarkable work. And now the school is starting to win all sorts of prizes in arts and dance and academic prizes as well. Everyone on this call is a woman, is divine. Each one of us has that silent, nourishing power of the ocean of consciousness within us. I invite all of you to learn transcendental meditation who are not meditating, and come together and create TM Women's Circles for knowledge and group meditations in your area, and magnify that nourishing power and truly transform the world from within. Real change begins within. So thank you, and I now like to welcome your questions and comments, and I will stop the share screen. Go back on. Okay, good.
Thank you so much, Anne. That was really incredible, an incredible weaving together of so much knowledge and insight about what's going on in our world, and quotes of women, and wonderful. Thank you so much. And so if you have any comments or questions, just please put them into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Better to do the Q&A box if possible than the chat box, but let's see. Someone is saying, who can lead TM Women's Circles? Sarah is saying that. Is it enough to practice TM?
Well, when we practice TM, that's wonderful, and that is enough. And every time we meditate and settle down to that quiet level, we are creating a very positive influence in society. But when we come together as a group of women, or in a group, even with your family, but in a group of women as well, then that effective coherence and nourishing power is greatly magnified. So both are effective, both are good to do. Whether if you can't come together in a group, then of course, meditating daily, regularly by yourself greatly helps. But if you can come together in a group once a week, once a month, you will notice a deepening of your own meditation, and you will feel that calm, more calm in the environment around you. Everyone who comes together in the group meditation knows a much deepening quality in their own meditation, and it has a greater effect in spreading that nourishment out to the world, that calm and peace out in the world. Great question.
Thank you, Sarah. Anonymous attendee is mentioning that that what's going on now are protests and demonstrations, not only riots, which I think that you brought out also.
Is there a question there?
No, she was just making a comment that, it's not all violence, it's a lot of peaceful.
Yes, there's a lot of, I've been reading and some very very heartwarming coming together of police and the protesters, and just there's a lot of positive news within the negative news. A lot more dialogue is starting to take place, and hopefully more changes in policies will start to take place as a result of all this. And it's really heartwarming to see how this is spread all around the world. Everyone is supporting that equal rights, that we're treated equally, that Black Lives Matter, and that we have to really rethink how to improve society on every level. And I just want to add, let's add that another layer of how we can improve society from the deepest level of our own consciousness. And the more we can come together as a group and create that unifying effect, that will help calm down the rioting as well. So I thank you for bringing up that point, that the majority, 90% at least of the protests are peaceful. And that is really, really beautiful to see. Thank you for bringing that point out.
Thank you, Anne. There are a lot of good comments people are appreciating so much. And someone to say, I find that during my meditation, a feeling of softness has been coming. And she's also saying, can we get the sources of some of the quotes and articles to read further? Someplace that we can post them, maybe on the TM.
Yes, we can organize that on, is Vanessa on? Can we put them on the TM Women's website, or we can set, if you'd like to join our mailing list, maybe we could send out.
Yes, we have a link to put up in a few minutes on the education director at tm-women.org. You can, and that will get you on our mailing list, and then we can make sure that we
can send a summary of this talk and put the links to the articles, like in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and a couple of the different quotes.
So Anne Prisco is saying, thank you, Anne, for weaving all those examples of women's positive impact throughout the world. This may sound presumptuous, but please speak to how you think the Maharishi might be responding to our current health and racial upheaval.
Gosh, that's a great question. But first I want to say, I know Anne Prisco. She's calling from New Jersey. Anne, thank you for joining the call. Anne is the head of a university called Felician University, which which has as her students many children from the inner city. All the students are there on scholarship. And she also has a wonderful nursing program there. And we're starting a program called Heal the Nurses, where we're going to be teaching some of the nursing students to go out to learn Transcendental meditation. They're graduating. So when they go out to work in the hospitals these days during this global pandemic, they'll be more stronger. Because it's a very stressful situation having to be in the hospital these days. And it's called Heal the Healers, this program. And so I want to congratulate Anne for adopting TM and wanting to give TM to her nursing students especially, but she wants to do it for the whole university. So back to your question. Oh gosh, it's hard for me to put myself in what Maharishi would think, but it's also a joy to think, what would Maharishi think about this? I have to think for a second though. I think he would think that it's called the principle of the second element. And that is, you have a problem, but instead of dwelling on the problem, bring in the solution. If you're in a dark cave, you can analyze the darkness. Where does the darkness come from? or you can just turn on the light. And I think he would say the light in this case is the light of our own consciousness. It would be like watering the root to enjoy the fruit. Nourish the tree from the sap. And the sap is that silence, that coherence. And that would rise up through all the branches of the tree and would nourish light from within, and nourish all the branches of the trees. But I think he would also address all the different aspects of society. He actually developed programs for every aspect of society. For education, he developed consciousness-based education to develop the full human potential of the student. And education today mostly delivers knowledge, isolated fields of knowledge, but it doesn't do anything to develop the full mental potential of the student, and to create integrated individuals who can go out in the world and really tackle the problems of today. He's also would focus on health, because this pandemic in a way is also a big problem. I would just want to conclude that. And he felt in the field of healthcare that we should not, that Western medicine is focused on disease care, focusing on the isolated problems and the symptoms of health, rather than focusing on all the processes that create health. So for health, he would focus on all the processes that create health, and certainly would say prevention is better than cure. In criminology, in the field of crime, he would say prevention is better than cure, and that would be to have effective education. And we have many programs in prisons now that have showed that TM in prisons reduces recidivism rate by about 45%. So I've just touched on very briefly what I think Maharishi would say. He could expound for hours on addressing the problem that is in the world. One last thing I think he would say would be to have large groups meditating. That would be probably the most important thing he would say. Get large groups together to meditate, to create that influence of calm and coherence in society as well. So Anne, I hope I answered your question in some small way.
Thank you, Anne. That was great. Somebody saying, thank you, beautifully said. Thank you. We're posting, hopefully, Jenny will be able to post the schedule of the National Times for practicing transcendental meditation. There's a whole, it's called Super Radiance that we're doing.
Yes, they're the Super Radiance Times. Also,
okay.
Bob Roth with the David Lynch Foundation. You can join. He's doing group meditations every day. I'm not sure the exact times, but up to 3,000 to 4,000 people have joined some of those calls. And we want to have our monthly, what we call TM Women's Circles, where we have our group meditations once a month. We should have more of those. And
I think
we're having TM Women online residence courses where we have a half-day retreats where you can do group meditation together. We've had 2 of those. They've been really successful. The women have loved them, and we have more coming up if you want to join us. There's
also the TM Women newsletter that came out today. If anybody receives that, we're starting a group meditation every day. I think it's set at 5
wonderful.
o'clock.
Oh, great.
So
that's good. And as women, that's ideal to join the women's meditation.
So that if you are not on that newsletter, just email to educationdirector@tm-women.org if you'd like to be on that, find out about that global group meditation. So there are several other, yes.
Yes, please
Jen,
ask more questions.
Yeah, there's some great questions here. Let's see. What can we, let's see. People are saying there was a beautiful day of peace yesterday, and tomorrow at 5 Central Time, there's a national time of silence in honor of George Floyd, and that 99% of all the thousands of participants on these protests have been peaceful, including the police. And Mercedes is asking, can you speak about organizing power and it being a feminine quality?
Oh, that's an interesting thought. In the field of silence, or in the Vedic wisdom, in the Vedic tradition, they say that transcendence, the field of transcendence, has two qualities: knowledge and its organizing power. The knowledge aspect is referred as Purusha, the male aspect, and the organizing power is referred as Mother Divine, the female aspect. And we know women are the creators of life, and that is that female nourishing power, the female aspect. And women are great organizers. They're multitaskers. As mothers, they have to handle many aspects of life, whether they have children or not. But those who have children certainly know they have to handle their children, their home, their family. Many have to work on top of that. So women are great organizing. Organizers. They embody great organizing power. And there's a saying, knowledge is organizing power, but infinite knowledge is infinite organizing power. So the more you're aligned with the deeper qualities of yourself, the more you're aligned with your own intuition, and that fine feeling level, that finest feeling level is closest to the transcendent. That's our field of intuition. Those are our silent whispers of wisdom. And the more we can be connected to that, the more that will guide our organizing power to be in the evolutionary direction, to be nourishing to the environment. So that's one thing I can say about female organizing power. But one important point, as women, we are always organizing. We are always giving. It's our nature to give. It's our nature to take care of our environment. But in so doing, sometimes we can feel depleted. And we have to have a way to nourish ourselves if we're always giving to other people. And the way to nourish ourselves is to experience the ocean of nourishment within, which is to dive into our silence and revitalize ourselves, nourish ourselves. And it is diving into also an ocean of energy. People who practice TM, they say scientific research also shows that when you settle down, because the mind and body are interconnected, the whole physiology gets a very deep rest, and that allows stress to be released. And when you come out of meditation, you feel more dynamic. The mind feels more clearer, more present in everything they do, and you have much more organizing power in whatever you take on, but you're also happy and more joyful, and life becomes more effortless because you're not exhausted. And I'd like to also emphasize the importance of proper rest at night and having a balanced routine, especially during these days of this pandemic, the importance of taking care of our physiology, being rested, eating properly, good, healthy food as well. So Mercedes, I hope that answered your question. And if there are any more questions, these questions are great. I'd love more questions.
There are several. And one is to please clarify where the citations from this program will be posted. So we welcome everybody to email to educationdirector@tm-women.org and get on the email list or let us know your email so we can send these to you. This is a first step, I think. Yeah. Okay. So yes, Mercedes says thank you.
And maybe in the chat box, I wonder if you can put some of this information too. Is that a good idea?
It's a great idea, but we don't have all the quotes.
Well, at least where they can sign up to be on the newsletter.
Yes, there are a lot of references now from MD Call Admin to everybody on that includes the global group meditation times and the email address where you can reach us. Yeah, okay. So thank you for this uplifting webinar with all the challenges we are facing. Finding the calm, peace, and strength within is a wonderful gift. Odalis is saying, I have found this in TM. Mina is saying, thank you for your presentation. It's very good, and you covered and gave a wonderful summary of a lot of important topics. We should do more of these types of gatherings. Is there a plan to expand on this?
Yes, we have the TM Women's Circles once a month, and we cover many interesting topics, as well as what's going on in the world. So if you'd like to join the TM Women's Circles, we can also put that information up as well.
So, okay, Claudia and others are asking, who can lead the TM Women's Circles? Is it enough to practice TM? This question was addressed above, but I thought she meant how to start a TM Women's Circle. Who can lead it?
Oh, you just need one other meditator to be with. Well, actually, at the moment, you can just join up and we can send you a link to the monthly calls. Because of social distancing, we haven't been coming together. Before the pandemic, we were encouraging people to come to the TM centers or start a TM Women's Circle in your own home, and you just needed one other woman to start your own circle. You don't need a leader. Ideally, it's good. I think we usually need a TM teacher. Is that right?
Yes, up until now.
But now we're doing it by Zoom, so you can join once a month. Now we're having a little bit more than once a month. We're trying to add more calls on due to the demand, the request. But
and may I just add something, Anne, that as you were just saying, TM Women's Circles is something, as it sounds, it's something that we started about 6 years ago for women who practice transcendental meditation and who just, wanted to be together on a regular basis. And up until recently, before the pandemic, it was a monthly thing in groups, in homes or in TM centers for women who practice TM. And then we started doing these online webinars. But today is the first time that we've done something for all women, whether people practicing transcendental meditation or not. And so this is really something special. We're happy to be doing this, and we can really see this. We want to do more of it because, women are women, and we're all looking for and enjoying that nourishing power within us in various ways. And so do sign up at that address that I mentioned, education director at tm-women.org, which is in the chat box. And we'll stay in touch. And so that when we do these webinars in more and more in the future, in the coming weeks and months, for all women of any meditation practice or whatever, that you can be included.
Also, I just want to say we have the TM Women's Circles in the US, Canada, that it's expanded now to Europe. Actually, there is one in Russia today. We had one in the Philippines yesterday. Because of the language, we have to do some of them separately. We've started them in Africa, Uganda, Kenya, and we want to start in more countries in Africa. And it's really they're really taking off around the world. And I keep thinking of Sheryl Sandberg could have 6,000 Lean In Women's Circles, we can easily have thousands of TM Women's Circles around the world. So that would be fantastic for anyone who wants to join one or start one.
And Ricky Block is mentioning she wasn't able to see the entire webinar, but she's pointing out, yes, thank you so much, Gloria Steinem and not Steinman. And also that she's saying, let's look at the original quote because she thinks it may be, begins, God may be in the details, but the goddess is in the, anyway, we will definitely make sure that we have the right way that she said that. Godness is in the connections. Thank you, Ricky.
Are there any more questions?
Please, oh yes, someone is asking to remind people that this will be replayed on YouTube. We have a link. Please, Jen, can you put that in the chat box, the YouTube link?
So there's a question. Say the Greek Orthodox is encouraging Christians to shun yoga. What are your thoughts? This has come up now and then, different religions not wanting people to do yoga. I think everyone has to go by their own religious traditions and judge that for yourself. Yoga certainly does not conflict with any other religion. Of course, how do you define yoga? Yoga, most people think of yoga as the yoga exercises, yoga asanas. And certainly, I don't see how making your body healthy and stronger can conflict with any religion. Yoga also means union, the union of heart, mind, and body. And certainly that's the essence of every religion. Transcendental meditation does not conflict with any religion. We have people from every religious tradition. We have priests, rabbis, we have Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists. As you saw, that Buddhist nun practices TM. She doesn't feel it conflicts with her Buddhist culture. She teaches her own culture in the school. So there is no conflict, but again, one has to go by their own religious traditions. So what other questions are there?
Does anyone else have any particular comments or questions? Oh, someone is Isha Brown. Can you briefly mention about the Purusha male aspect and the organizing power of the divine feminine aspect?
I think I just did, didn't I? I talked about how Purusha is the silent witnessing value of pure consciousness, and Prakriti or Mother Divine is the organizing power of pure consciousness. I think I just went into that in quite detail. I don't know if you heard that. Maybe you wrote the question before I answered that. But there's
Kathleen is asking, can you talk about bliss and how this is enlivened with TM?
That's a great question. Always great to talk about bliss. There's in the Vedic tradition, I think it's in the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita, says that pure consciousness is what's called Sat, Chit, or Ananda. Sat means truth, unchanging. Chit means awareness, wakefulness, and Ananda is bliss. And that the nature of pure consciousness is bliss. One of my favorite Vedic quotes says, Ananda Devi Kavimani Bhutani Jayanti, Anandena Jatani Jivanti, Anandam Prayantya Abhivishanti. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It says, of bliss all beings are born, in bliss they go, and in bliss they are sustained, and in bliss they go and return again. And we're born of bliss. The purpose of our life is the expansion of happiness, the expansion of bliss. We see that in day-to-day life. Everything we do is for more and more. We want to listen to nice music, and if we're not listening, if we're talking to someone who's not very interesting and our favorite song comes on, the mind will naturally go there. The mind naturally goes to that which is more pleasing, more blissful. And with the practice of TM, all we do is use that tendency of the mind to go to that which is more pleasing, and we turn it within. And because pure consciousness is also a field of bliss, the mind naturally gets drawn there. It stays there in a very easy, effortless way. We don't try to be blissful. We don't make a mood of bliss. We just dive in to that bliss, that joy. And in the beginning, it might not be experienced like ecstatic bliss, but in the beginning, it's some contentment, some pleasantness, but grows and grows and grows in life. And many people report that they, after practicing TM for some time, they just feel happy for no reason. It's a happiness that is not dependent on something from the outside. And that's how I like to describe bliss. Bliss that is independent from an outer situation. On the outside, we have dinner with our family, and that creates joy. And then we wait for the next event, and that creates joy. But inner bliss is a state of being. And we can establish ourselves in that state more and more. And every day we bring just a little bit more out, just a little bit more out. It's like dipping a cloth into yellow dye. Then you bring the cloth out, you put it in the sun. Most of it fades, but just a little bit stays. And then you dip it in again and you put it in the sun, and a little bit more stays, and a little bit more stays. And so when we dive in, we start from the surface level of our mind, and we go to quieter and quieter and quieter levels. And then we experience that field of silence, that calm, that field of bliss. And little by little, we bring that bliss out into our daily life. So Kathleen, I hope that answered the question.
Thank you. That was very nice, inspiring. So it is getting late, so we should probably move on. But I wanted to just mention, there is in the chat box, everyone go to, there's a note from MD Khalid Min to all panelists that gives the shareable URL for this YouTube recording of today. So please do that. And shall we move on now to, we still have a beautiful song.
Yes, and I'd just like to thank everyone for joining. There's quite a great turnout, and also my 94-year-old mother's watching. I was able to get her on at the last second, so that was really joyful for me. That created a lot of bliss in me. And so thank you for everyone for joining the call.
If we didn't answer your question or comment, please forgive. The whole thing will be available on YouTube, and we'll be doing more of these in the future. So now we'd like to just go on to our song. It's called Let's Rise. And it's anonymous songwriter, and she didn't want to be mentioned, but it's a great song. And yeah, songwriter and recorder and everything. So go ahead.
Karen, and we'll have a 10-minute group meditation at the end for anybody who'd like to. If you're practicing TM, great. If you're practicing another meditation, you can join in. And if you're not meditating, you can close your eyes and join in also if you like, or just at that time get off the call.
Okay, great. So
turn off your camera.
And be sure to put the sound quality properly. That you...
seems so crazy, the world around us. Hopefully it's just a phase. How can the world be so out of touch with the hearts of the human race? When the world seems dark, let's shine brighter. People go low, let's rise higher. Rise like the moon, shine like the stars. Sing the same tune and be heard near and far. Don't be pulled in by the quicksands of time. Don't let your colors fade. These are the days we need to climb high and not let our hearts close and be swayed. When the world seems dark, let's shine brighter. People go low, let's rise higher. Rise like the moon, shine like the stars. Sing the same tune and be heard near and far. Let's shine, let's rise. Change the trends of time. To rise. When the world seems dark, let's shine brighter. People go low, let's rise higher. Let's rise like the moon, shine like the stars. Sing the same tune and be heard near and far. Let's shine.
Thank you so much for that. That was a perfect song for today. And now we're going to end with our group meditation for 10 minutes. So as Anne said, those who practice TM, please just can do that, and others are welcome to do whatever your practice is or just enjoy the silence. Now take 2 or 3 minutes to come out slowly. Now slowly open the eyes. So thank you again to Anne Purcell for the wonderful presentation that you made. I think we all feel more proud and inspired to be a woman and to do what we can on the active level, and also to access the source of our ultimate power inside of ourselves so we can accomplish more on the active level in a more effortless way. And so let's stay connected. We'll keep the chat box open so you can access some of the links that we put there. So you could give us your email address if you'd like to be on the email list, and just have a very nourishing month and being that beautiful woman that we all are. So we'll see you again, we hope. Bye.